Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, wonderful occasion of Ram Navami, appearance day of Lord Ramachandra today. And we wanted to recite a couple of verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 11th chapter, 23rd verse. Purusho Rama Charitam Swanerupadarayan Anrashyamsya Paro Rajan Karma Bandai Vimuchate. O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives the narrations concerning the characteristics of Ramachandra's pastimes will ultimately be freed from the disease of envy, thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. And there's another verse in the 10th chapter of the same canto, second verse. Tasyapi Bhagavanesha Saksad Bhavano Hari Amsham Sena Chatud Takat Putratvam Parathita Surya Rama Lakshman Bharata Shatrugna Iti Samyaya. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself directly appeared with His expansions and expansions of the expansions. Their holy names were Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrugna. The celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Daksha. So it's not just that Ram is the avatar, the incarnation. They all are avatars, all 4 of them, the whole Vishnu Tattva. So who is Ram? Ram is one and the same as Krishna himself. And Lakshman is one and the same as Balaram. Ramachandra is the 7th of the 10 avatars of Krishna. Ram's incarnations is known as Maryada Purushottam. Krishna is regarded to have 16 colors. He's fully complete. Ramachandra has 14 colors. He's intentionally hid 2 colors, as Ravan was to be killed by a human. So the following colors were not present. Paripurna, complete knowledge of all forms of awakening, and Swarupa Vastita, establishing his real true self. So for the reason that Ravan was to be killed by a human, he hid these 2 when he appeared. So he had 14 colors. The Lord appears to reclaim us as he is our eternal Father. The earth was overburdened by demoniac kings such as Ravan. So this is the excuse that Ram gives to come to this world. But the real reason he comes is to remind us of himself, of his sweetness, so that we can again connect with him and fall in love with him. Because he already loves us, but we've forgotten him. So he comes, he needs an excuse to come. And this was the excuse. The demoniac king, such as Ravan, needed to be removed from the surface of the earth. He appeared at the end of Treta Yuga in the dynasty of Suryavams with 3 other expansions on the 9th day of Chaitra. So this is why it's Ram Navami, 9th day of Chaitra. In the family of King Dasharatha, who had 3 principal wives, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumatra, at the Yajna, fire sacrifice, the purpose of which was to bring an heir to the kingdom. A personality appeared to give the king a pot of sweet rice. So the king had no issue. And in order to get a son, the sages headed by Vashishta, performed a yajna. And from this yajna came out a personality who presented a pot of sweet rice to the king, who distributed it to his wives. He gave half to Kaushalya, the other half to Kaikeyi. And those 2 wives in turn gave half of their share to Sumitra. Hence why Sumitra had 2 children. Ram appeared first to Kaushalya. There's beautiful Ram. Then Bharat appeared to Kaikeyi. And Lakshman and Shatrugna appeared to Sumitra. So who are they? Well, first expansion of Krishna is Balaram. And then we had the quadruple expansion, Vasudeva, Sankarasana, Pradyumna, and Anirudh. So Ramachandra is regarded to be incarnation of Vasudeva. Vasudev, Lakshman of Sankarsan, Bharat from Padumna, and Shatrughna from Aniruddha. Lakshman was very attached to Ram. Shatrughna was very attached to Bharat. Later, Ramachandra was united with his eternal consort, Sita Devi, a wonderful pastime that took place. How they were connected by Vishwamitra in Janakaraj's place, which is, what is Janakaraj's place? I've forgotten it now. Was it Mithila or something like that? Mithila. Ramachandra has unlimited qualities. He appeared as the ideal son, ideal brother, ideal husband, ideal king, ideal man. He is the emblem of purity and marital devotion. His teachings illustrate above all the importance and rewards of fulfilling one's highest duty or dharma. His name is extraordinarily powerful, and the power was demonstrated by the Mandra army writing the name of Ram on the stones, which floated in order to make the bridge to Lanka. Ratnakar was initiated by Narad Muni as Valmiki. And as Valmiki, as Ratnakar, he was very simple, so he couldn't utter the name of Ram. So Valmiki said to Ratnakar, you should chant Ma Ra, Ma Ra, Ma Ra, constantly. And he did. And then that Ma Ra, Ram became Ram. I can't remember what this argument was between Vashishta and Vishwamitra, but it showed that the name of Ram was very powerful. And then there's the pastime of Narad Muni, Vishwamitra, and Hanuman. So Ram is reduced down to 2 syllables because of Kali, because of Kali Yuga. Ram is very easy to pronounce, very easy. Krishna is a little hard, right? Because Krishna is not easy to pronounce correctly, but Ram is very easy. The Ram Bhaktas, they claim Chitrakoot is like Vrindavan. Chitrakoot is like Vrindavan because it's very tranquil and beautiful. And everything about Krishna is indeed challenging. His name is hard to pronounce. He looks with sidelong glances. His walking is like a gait of an intoxicated elephant, mad elephant. Well, you compare this to Ram, and his words have double meanings. His activities are not straightforward. He breaks his promises. So if you compare this with Ram, Ram's name is very easy to pronounce. And Ram, he would look you straight in the eye. Krishna had sidelong glances, devious. Ram's walk was very straight, very straight. He would walk with his shoulders high. Whereas Krishna's walk was like an intoxicated, mad elephant. Ram's word was his bond. Right? He said something and he meant it. He would not deviate. But Krishna, on the other hand, sometimes he says one thing, but he means something totally different. Ram's activities were extremely straightforward. You know exactly where you stood with Ram. With Krishna, his activities were very sweet and loving and mischievous, not necessarily straightforward. And Krishna would break his promise. With Ram, he never broke his promise. This is the same one God, just a different character, different personality, different mood. In the Vishnu Sahasranam, it states that 1,000 names of Vishnu are equal to 1 name of Ram. And 3 names of Ram are equal to 1 name of Krishna. So if you just say Krishna once, that's 3,000 names of Vishnu. Ram can, of course, in the Mahamantra mean many things. Ram can mean Ramachandra. Ram can also mean Balaram. It can also mean Krishna. Radhika Raman Ram, the one who enchants Radharani. In his incarnation as Ram, he becomes greedy to experience the following mellows: close, intimate friendship with Sugriv and Vibhishan. Ram enjoyed friendship, but there was still some awe and reverence in that friendship. It wasn't a very, very intimate connection. It was close, but not very close. So he wanted a close relationship. And as Krishna, he had very close relationships with his cowherd friends, Madhu Mangal, and so many others. Second thing was, Ram was always very treated with great respect by his parents because he was such an obedient son. So he also relished chastisement from his parents. So as Krishna, he received chastisement, which he really enjoyed from Mother Yashoda. And he also wanted to fulfill the desires of his devotees, especially the gopis, who wanted conjugal relationship with Krishna. But as Ram, he took a vow of one wife. So as Krishna, all the rasas or the mellows of bhakti are present in full, and loving exchange with the Lord is complete and fulfilling. Asyasya padam ratam pinastu mam adarsanam marmatam karatu va yatha tatha va vidat tatu lampato matpana nathastu saiva napara. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord. He shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worship, always worshipable Lord unconditionally. So this is the mood of Radharani, the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu towards Krishna. So if we look at the yugas, the Satya Yuga, which has 1.7 million years, Treta Yuga, which is when Ramachandra appeared, 1.3 million years, Dwapara Yuga 864,000 years, Kali Yuga 432,000. So according to the review scriptures, Ramachandra appeared at the end of Treta Yuga, which is approximately 880,000 years. So nearly a million years ago. And this is the sort of the journey that they took when he spent 14 years in exile, all the way down to Rameshwar and then over to Sri Lanka, to fight with Ravan. So what do these four avatars represent? Ramachandra is representing happiness by being in touch with chanting his name. So it gives us that happiness. When Ram actually means the reservoir of all pleasure. So when we chant Ram, we can also tap into the pleasure that the Lord possesses. He wants us to be happy because he loves us. So he gives us the opportunity simply by chanting his name. Ram, we can become very happy. Lakshman represents to tap into that happiness, unalloyed service, through unalloyed service to the Lord under any and every condition, no strings attached. So when we serve the Lord in the mood of, like in the footsteps of Lakshman, we can tap into that happiness. Bharat represents tolerance of whatever is thrown. Still, we continue to serve. He tolerated so much. Ram, when he was exiled to the forest, Bharat was the one who was blamed by all the residents. Even after he went to the forest and came back, the residents still didn't forgive Bharat. He had to go to the Sarayu for early bath before anybody else woke up, because if he was there when the citizens came, they would abuse him. But he tolerated. and he continued his service to Ram. Shatrughan represents serving the devotee is greater service than serving the Lord. Some people think, oh yeah, I serve the Lord and that's what I have to do. Actually, if you serve the devotee, then that is even greater than serving the Lord, because the devotee is always serving the Lord. So if you're serving the devotee, you're also serving the Supreme Lord, but at the same time, you're serving the servant of the Lord. So the four brothers were greatly, beautifully, well behaved. And Dashrath especially had great affection for Ram. And he wanted never to be away from Ram. But then they went to Gurukul to learn under the auspices of Vasishtha Muni. They learned so many things. Practically, of course, God doesn't have to learn anything. He's the greatest guru, the greatest teacher. But in order to teach us that we have to accept a guru, he also went to Gurukul and accepted a teacher. Later, Vishwamitra came and asked for the service of Ram. Dashrath was not happy. He said, I have an army who can go with you to the forest. You want to demolish the demons? My army will do it for you. I will come as well. No, Vishwamitra said, I want Ram. Vasishtha said to Dashrath, yes, send Ram. Vishwamitra will greatly enhance their learning. So they went, Ram and Lakshman, with Vishwamitra to the forest, and they took care of the demons. And many pastimes took place. Gautam Rishi had cursed his wife, Ahalya, for being unfaithful, even though she was tricked into being unfaithful. But he also gave her the boon that you will be liberated when the lotus feet of Ram touches you. And the lotus feet of Ram touched, she was cursed to be a stone. So Ram came and liberated Ahalya. And later they went to Mithila, Janakraja's place, and Ram won the hand of Sita in the Sita Swayamvar by lifting and breaking the arrow of Lord Shiva. And at the same time, the other three brothers were also married to the cousin sisters of Sita Devi. Lakshman married Sita's sister, Urmila, and Bharat and Shatrughan married Sita's cousins, Mandavi and Shutakirti. And it was a fantastic ceremony. Parshuram heard the bow of Shiva being broken. He came to challenge the person who broke the bow. And at that time, Ram confronted him and said, I am Ram. So your powers can now cease to exist and merge into my prowess. And he shot his arrow into the prowess of Parshuram and took his power. And later on, by the arrangement of the Lord, Mantra convinced Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi loved Ram very much. She was the mother of Bharat, but she loved Ram more than Bharat. But Kaikeyi managed to persuade her, Mantra managed to persuade Kaikeyi that the coronation of Ram was not a good idea. She would lose her status as the favorite queen of Ram, of Dashrath. And by the arrangement of the Lord, Kaikeyi was convinced, and she took up the two promises that had been given to her by Dashrath Maharaj. She can have anything she wants because she had protected Dashrath in a battle one time. So she demanded the two wishes to be granted. One, for her son to be made the king. But then she thought, if Ram stays in the kingdom, he will always be a threat to my son, Bharat. So let him go to the forest for 14 years. This completely devastated Dashrath to the extent that he never recovered. Ramachandra, when he was told by Kaikeyi, you have to go to the forest, he was so magnanimous. He said, you didn't even have to bother my father. You just would have told me, now to have gone. So he left with Sita and Lakshman. And the three of them, they spent great time in great pastimes took place in the forest. This is, I think this is his name Kevat, something like that. Ramachandra wanted to cross the Ganga, and Kevat said, "Yes, I will take you across."
It is Kevat
Yes,
himself. It is
sorry.
Kevat.
Okay, thank you,
He is
thank you,
Kevat,
Siddharth.
yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Kevat, Ram, he wanted to wash his feet, Ramachandra's feet. So he said, "I'd like to wash your feet." No, Ram said. Kevat said, "Well, you have to. If you want to ride in my boat, I know what you do when you touch things with your feet. I've already got a daughter. I don't want another daughter from my boat." So he washed his feet. Ram was very pleased with him and took him across the Ganga. Dashrath actually had been, when he was young, he was cursed. Hence why he suffered the separation from Ram. He was cursed because he was thinking he was shooting a deer, but he shot Shravan Kumar, who was looking after his elderly parents. He was such a good boy, but he accidentally shot him. And Dashrath went to his parents and told them that I've accidentally killed your son. And that made his parents very angry, and they cursed him. You will also die due to the separation from your son, as we are about to die from the separation of our son. So that's what happened. In the meantime, Bharat came back to Ayodhya, and he was shocked. He was shocked. His mother, especially because she'd made Ram go to the forest. He was very angry. So angry, he was ready to take up arms against his own mother. But he knew that would not please Ram. So they went to the forest, and Kaikeyi also realized he made a terrible blunder. They went to the forest to beg Ram, "Please come back. You don't have to fulfill the promise made to your father." But Ram said, "No, I will stay. I will fulfill my word. I will not come back until the 14 years are up." And Bharat was very upset, and he took the slippers of Ram and he placed them on the kingdom. They were governing Ayodhya. And he promised Ram that if you were late, even by a moment after the 14 years, I will kill myself. So in that way, Bharat also showed his great dedication to his elder brother Ram. These were really pathetic scenes of great sorrow. And Ram and Lakshman, they spent 13 years, 14 in total, but 13 years were very peacefully in Chitraketu. They were really happy with nature. Then one day, Subhanka, the sister of Ravan, came and wanted a liaison with Ram. And Ram said, "It's not possible. I'm already married. There's Lakshman, who is not married, whose wife is not here. You can ask him." But of course, she was rejected. And eventually Lakshman took her nose off, as she was behaving in a very demoniac way. And she went back to Ravan and said to him that there's a very beautiful woman in the hands of a human. She belongs to you. Ravan, of course, being a lusty person, was intrigued. He sent Marich in the form of a deer to take Ram and Lakshman away from Sita. Sita was on her own, and he came behind. Oh yes, Lakshman had also put Lakshman Rekha around Sita. But he came disguised as Ravan in order to kidnap Sita. And he came disguised as a sage, begging for food. Sita very kindly gave her the food, coming out of the Lakshman Rekha. And at that time, he kidnapped Sita. And it is said that actually he did not kidnap Sita, he kidnapped a Maya Sita, because when she entered that Lakshman Rekha, at that time, Agni Dev came and took the real Sita to his kingdom in the heavens and replaced her with a Maya Sita. So there's no way that Ravan could touch the real Sita. How could he touch the eternal consort of the Lord? So he actually kidnapped the false Sita. Jatayu saw the kidnapping. He stopped. He confronted Ravan, even though he knew he couldn't win, but he stopped. He fought for 48 minutes. And his logic was that I have moved the kidnapping of Sita to a different time, which is inauspicious for Ravan. So these 48 minutes were very crucial. So in 48 minutes, Jatayu gained the ultimate liberation because Ram later found him and did his funeral. And he went back to Godhead. On their way, on the search, they came across somebody, very amazing devotee who had been waiting for Ram faithfully. And she offered him, we call it boar, small apples. After tasting it, she would offer it to Ram, and Ram would eat it, relish it. He knew that this is the offering of my pure devotee. And he accepted that offering, and it's made her life successful. And later on, they met Hanuman, who was one of the army of Sugriv. And Hanuman later introduced Ram to Sugriv, and Sugriv was helped in his battle with Bali, his brother, by Ram shooting Bali in the back. And this is sometimes looked upon as a very controversial act. Why did Ram kill Bali in the back? And then Bali asked the same question of Ram, and Ram said, well, I am representative of the king, and you have done so many things against your brother. What I've done is meted out punishment to you, which you deserve. And Bali accepted, yes, you are right. You're right. Eventually, Hanuman was requested by Ram to find Sita. And with his army, they came across Sita eventually in Lanka after trying to find her all over Bharat. He couldn't find her, but eventually was guided to Lanka. And he didn't just appear before Sita. Sita was in a Ashok garden. He sat on a tree and he chanted the glories of Ram because he knew if he appeared before her, he looked strange. She would be really scared. But when he was reciting the glories of Ram, Sita was listening, and she immediately became very happy and affectionate. And when he revealed himself, she understood this is a devotee of my Lord's devotee. And Hanuman showed her the ring that Ram had given her, just to convince her 100% that he was a genuine person. And Sita asked, please go back to Ram, and I'm happy to suffer a little bit more, but I want Ram to come here so that he can be glorified as the one who conquered Ravan. Hanuman could have easily just taken Sita back, but Sita didn't want that. She wanted Ram to be glorified throughout the universe. And Hanuman, he did some amazing pastimes in Ayodhya, in Lanka. He actually burnt down Lanka. He was captured one time. They put his tail on fire. No problem, Hanuman said. And he escaped, and he put that fire all over Lanka. Eventually, he went back to Ram and told him where Sita is, and they came to the ocean. Ram worshipped Lord Shiva because, one, when a devotee worships the Lord is very humble. He likes to reciprocate. He'll worship that devotee. But also, Shiva was the Ishta Guru of Adi Guru of Ravan. So Ram observed the etiquette of requesting the permission of Ram or Sita to defeat Ravan. So Ram is such an amazing personality. But this often confuses devotees. Is Ram God or is Shiva God? How come Shiva is worshipping God? Why not? How come, Ram is worshipping his devotee Shiva? Why not? So then they wanted to build a bridge, and at that time, Ram was waiting patiently for the ocean, who didn't come. So Ram took up his arrow, about to smash it into the ocean. But at that time, Varun Deva, Samudra, came and said, no, I will help you serve. I will help you get your Sita back. So they made the bridge with stones. Ram was written on the name of each stone and placed on the ocean. And this is one of the beautiful characteristics of Ram. Even the squirrel was doing his seva. Hanuman said to the squirrel, "Ooh, I might step on you. Just step out of the way. I've got these big rocks which I'm taking to make the bridge." And Ram heard that and he said, "No, Hanuman, the squirrel is giving as much service as you are. His service might be little, but it's to the best of his ability." And these little pebbles are also very, very useful because they cover all the gaps between the big stones. So do not think that your service is better than his service. His service is as good as your service. So as long as we do our service to the best of our ability, what can we do to serve God? We are too small. The squirrel is bigger than we are. But if we just do our very best in a mood of humility and surrender, he will accept it. He will relish that service as much as he relishes Hanuman's service. So this bridge was constructed from Rameshwar to Lanka. Oh, and at one point, Bhivishan had come to surrender. And Ram asked, should we let him surrender? Should we let him come near us? No, he's an enemy. But Ram knew differently. And Ram made a vow at that time. Any person who just surrenders unto me once, I will give them shelter. So he gave shelter to Vibhishan. And then they crossed over into Lanka, yeah. The army of Ram, magnificent army of monkeys and bears with the wooden clubs, facing the Rakshas army who had sophisticated weaponry. But of course, over a period of time, the army was defeated. There were some incredible pastimes. Indrajit, the son of Ravan, was very powerful. He conquered Lakshman at one point, and Hanuman came with Sanjeevani from the Himalayas to save Lakshman. Of course, Lakshman didn't need saving, but this was a service that was given to Hanuman. And eventually Ram enjoyed the fight with Ravan and defeated him. Vibhishan guided him, shoot him in his belly button, because that's where his weak point is. Of course, Ram knows everything, but he also likes his devotees to be glorified and take the credit. Ten heads of Ravan, things that we should avoid: pride, greed, anger, lust, delusion, jealousy, negative mindset, ego, selfishness, hatred. So this is the real purpose of Ramayana, to try to, or the pastimes of Ram, to try to help us get rid of our 10 demons that are within our consciousness. And then later, Sita was put to the test of the fire. And at that time, Agni brought back the real Sita, replaced the Maya Sita with the real Sita. So that was the reason for the Agni. And later they came back to Ayodhya and they were installed as king and queen. And of course, the festival of Diwali we celebrate. And when they came back, of course, Mother Kaikei was very elated that they had returned back, as was everybody in that kingdom. And they were blessed. And they ruled for a long, long time. At the end of the rule, they also gave the opportunity for the residents of Ayodhya to go with them back to the spiritual world. So this is the pastime of Ram in a nutshell. There's a lot more, of course, that we can go through, but it's very difficult to time-wise to do much more. If anybody would like to say anything, anything that you'd like to share, a particular pastime that really enchant, gives you so much joy, please do share. Okay, we can stop. Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai, Ram Navami Mahotsav ki jai.